Adam followed up his previous super chat, making a number of comments in the chat, and he is determined with this. And every time Adam calls me, it is an excellent football conversation from a perspective that is rarely, uh, delved into. I will say that. But he certainly still wants USC out of the Big Ten. He wanted to go independent. This is back on field. Adam is stating here, and we thank you so much for the super chat. Given our defensive personnel and size on the defensive line, do you guys think a 4-2-5 with a cover 3 zone is preferable, along with vision, break coverage, or a 3-4 base defense? What do you think the Anton Lynn will do?
I think, Adam, the main thing here is that this coaching staff knows what it's doing. I mean, I'm like, we haven't seen USC play with this coaching staff, but like, I'm already convinced. Everything that I'm seeing, everything that I've read, everything that I've heard, like, these guys seem to know what they're doing. So to me, Adam, the defense they should use is the defense that this staff thinks is appropriate. Like, that's the answer. I'm not going to impose, Danton Lynn and Eric Henderson should use a 4-2-5. No, it's what they think. Whatever they say, like, I'm willing to give them that berth. That's the thing. And let's remember, with Alex Grinch, like, you couldn't just focus on one thing, right? Scheme was complicated, but like, the evaluations of the players weren't right. Who was starting wasn't right. The roster management and the rotation weren't right. Nothing was right. As long as you can get alignment in terms of all those different pieces, the right players are starting, the right roster decisions and evaluations are made, arranging the depth chart appropriately, and putting players in positions to make plays. You just get that alignment, and things are going to work out. So I trust the defensive staff. I am not going to tell them what to do or how to do it. I'm just going to say, hey, you guys go to work. Like, this is why Lincoln Riley hired you. This is why Jen Cohen paid the money to beef up the salary pool, for these assistants. That you just now take that football knowledge you have and put it to work. That's really the main message from me.
Before Tim cuts loose on this, because of course he knows the personnel, I'm going to give a very basic statement on this, because the personnel, though, I will be digging in here. These are my summer months now to dive into rosters and really get familiar with these teams. But I will say this: any football coach that is worth his salt has a philosophy, has preferences that he believes this is the way this scheme, this is the way this side of the ball should best be effective. However, he takes that approach and then he applies it to the personnel and says, yes, while this is my baby, this is my scheme, we can't do this yet. We may be able to do this in a recruiting cycle or 2 or 3. So I need to make adjustments because we can't run the way I like to run yet. So there are some adjustments there. And then there might be some slight tweaks, but I think this is third on the list and much less of a consideration to look at the league, to look at the style of play in the Big Ten, to look at what's required there versus the opponents versus what you faced in the Pac-12. But I think that is a distant third to the first two.
Well, so I'm not going to go into, because I'm familiar with the scheme. I will just tell you this, Adam. Run whatever we brought Lynn in to run. It works in the NFL. It did great at UCLA. It's going to be fine at USC. And to Mark's point, he was very clear. He made the point. I'm going to make the defense, to fit the personnel we have. He was very clear to say that. He's not going to stick to his particular type of defense. He says, what I do is I use the personnel I have, and I put the best defense out there. So I know that he likes versatility. I know that he really is going to find a way to be specific. He's going to find a way to where you could have, our linebackers. I think our linebackers are going to play a huge role in this defense. And big part of this is how they can use Eric Gentry. I heard him bring up his name a couple of times, and Matt Entz. You don't have guys like, we have a Caleb Williams on your offense. You could do certain things you can't do in other offenses. When you have an Eric Gentry in your defense, you can do certain things you can't do in other defenses. I'm not worried about the team that goes out there. I'm worried about depth. The only issue on the defense side of the ball you'll see me worry about going through this year is we keep those, because we have great linebackers, but they have a hard time staying healthy. And so if they can stay healthy, and we know we're thin on the defensive line, right? On the defensive interior especially. If those guys can stay healthy, we shouldn't have problems, Adam, that we had. And I don't know, what do we always hear for years, going all the way back to Oklahoma about Lincoln Riley? Oh, if he could only just get a good or a decent defense, we'll have a good or a decent defense. Will we be a top 10 defense? Probably not. Are we going to be a 2008 and keep our opponents under 10 points? Probably not. Okay. 75 yards rushing? Probably not. But what we will have is that good defense matched up with the Lincoln Riley offense. That's all people have wanted to see for a while. And now we have big boys, in the coaching staff that are proven at their positions, that are great at what they've done, and they've come together, and we're hoping they have the depth of pieces in place to do it. We know we have the talent, the frontline talent, the 11 guys they're going to put out there could probably play with almost anybody. Can they develop the backups? Can they get the young freshmen involved, which is going to be very, very important, especially depth along defensive line? Can they do that? Those are your questions, Adam. As far as defense, we don't need them. Our joke on the show is always, we don't need the 85 Bears. We just need somebody out there that's not going to be, 18th in the, or 17th in the Big Ten, right? We're not going to be 103rd in the country. You know what I mean? We're going to be hopefully a top 40 defense in that range. And with that and what we have on offense, we should be just fine.